if you're starting a coaching business today, all you got is your mindset. And you got to really future pace yourself of like, hey, whether it's my second call, my third call, my 30th call, I'm going to get this person. And sales is a service, and it's a disservice to not sell the people that you help. Deals happen at diagnosis. I think there's this weird notion that deals happen after you like fight on objections. And like, inevitably there's going to be some calls like that. But if I look at the history of the deals I've closed, and I've been blessed to close over 9 figures in deals, it happens when you properly diagnose someone's problem. You can win a deal right there. Now they're not going to be like, here, sign the contract. But that's, if you rewind it, that's when the deal was won.
What's going on, STR Nation? This is your host, the brother from another mother, Emmanuel Pani, here all by myself this week as Mr. Mike Riley is in Nashville for STR WalkOn, as I'm sure most of you are aware. This episode drops on Monday, the Monday following STR WalkOn. So before I get into the show, I would like to challenge you guys, if you were at the conference, to not do what I used to do a lot when I first started going to conferences, which is come home, energized, excited, full of great idea, full of a notebook full of notes, and to then just start living my life like I used to. And then all of a sudden, that energy, that power, that excitement that I had coming home from the conference kind of dwindled away. And I didn't do anything about it, right? I didn't take any major action and didn't change my life. I didn't do all the things that I was so inspired to do in the moment that I was there at the conference. And so if you went to the conference and you have a notebook full of notes, and you listen to this Monday morning or Tuesday after the conference, I am encouraging you to take a couple hours this week to really download what you learned from the conference, what you liked about the conference, and what kind of tickled your mind, and what ideas you want to implement from the conference, and then create a plan to execute them and not allow yourself to fall back into the rhythm of life. I know for some of you, it's probably your first big real estate conference, and it's a lovely time, right? Like you come home, charge up, right? And make the most out of it. And if you didn't go to a conference, but know somebody that did, my challenge to you in that case is to go out and find somebody that you know that went to the conference and ask them a couple questions and see what you can take away from their experience. Having said that, I knew I was going to be running the show by myself this week, and I was really undecided on what to bring you guys. I was split up between doing a mindset show, which you guys know I love doing, I love talking about, and in my mind, it's one of the most powerful things that I can offer you. And instead, what I decided to do is I invited Adam Stein. And Adam Stein was the head of sales at Secrets, and he's my mentor, my coach when it comes to sales. And the reason I invited him on is because I know a lot of people, especially coming from the W-2 world, where you didn't necessarily have to go out and kill for yourself, within quotation marks. It's a little bit intimidating to go out and start selling. And a lot of people, myself included at the beginning, we have this limiting belief that sales is yucky and is ugly. So being now the end of July, I really wanted to offer you guys something that would benefit the rest of the year and really help you make a difference in your life. So Adam and I talked about his 5 philosophies of sales, and it's going to be a very actionable show. And Adam is one of the best salespeople that I've ever met. He greatly impacted my life, and he does so in such a loving way. And so I really do hope that after listening to this show, your ability to sell will get better, and your mindset and your identity around what selling is will also get better. And so without further ado, I welcome my dear friend, Adam Stein, to the show. What's going on, Mr. Stein?
Doing great. E, thanks for having me. Always good to see a familiar face and see you in a familiar place.
Yeah, man. My idea in having you on the show, so for those that don't know, Adam has been was part of Seekers for a very long time. He was our head of sales, and he's been my sales mentor for the past year and a half. And he is undoubtedly the best salesperson that I've ever met in my life, and has taught me everything that I know about sales and about talking to people and about doing this. And so my idea in having you on the show, brother, was to just help people kind of get over this entire thing of like sales are hard, sales are difficult, sales is this, sales is that. I understand the sales is just a skill. And so I thought to myself, since I'm running this week solo, since Riley is in Nashville at WalkOn, I'm like, what better person could I bring on but my own sales mentor to have this conversation and help out the community and really taking their sales game to the next level. And so after that intro, tell people, how did Adam Stein get into sales and some of the organizations that you have worked with outside of Secrets?
Yeah. Well, first off, humbled by the insult. Appreciate the kind words. I'll Venmo you later. First off, before I go into my story, I would want to touch on the thought you were mentioning about sales is hard. right? And I think sales is a lot of things, and we'll talk about that today, but ultimately it's what you make it. If it's hard, it's hard. If sales is simple, it's simple, right? So it's the first, step of what we at STR teach, and what I teach a lot about as well. So in terms of sales, how did I get into sales? Well, my first words, according to my dad, I'm the youngest of four, were it's deal, deal. So I'd go around the house and I would try to negotiate with my family and just say deal, deal. So I think sales started very early for me. And then I did my first like real sales job. It's probably like Cutco. Like I'm sure I sell lemonade or something, but I did Cutco in college, sell night vector marketing. And I had like a 6-figure summer and thought I was the man, and then really fell out of sales. And I was in undergrad and I was studying entrepreneurship and started a couple businesses. And of course, what I ended up doing is running the sales side of the business, right? And my first was I did golf fitness because I'm a big golfer. And it was a really cool way to kind of immerse my worlds. I then got into, through that, you start running some ads and you figure some stuff out. I owned a digital marketing agency, and that's where I kind of got introduced in the coaching space, and I hired my first coach and started to grow that. And then from that, I saw that sales was a tool for me. So then I became actually a full-time closer, because then I had no fulfillment. In full transparency, I grew a business, but I didn't want to do any of the fulfillment. And then this was young Adam, and I got really good as a closer. I closed for several high ticket coaching spaces that we grew to 8 figures. I then got into the manager side of things. And then I was a sales director at mastermind.com with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. So I got to, have $3 million weekends and, silly fun times. And then I worked also with Cole Gordon and managed some of his clients. He's kind of big in the high ticket coaching space for sales. And then from that, I actually became a student of STR Secrets. And I was at one of the first boardrooms. And me and Shobi got introduced through Cole. And we really hit it off first in real estate. We're looking at doing a hotel, and then just kind of in business in general. And really aligned with the mission of STR Secrets and the people. That's when I first met E at an Orlando pool, and we had some great conversations. And then from that, continued to grow and run my own sales coaching program now. And then also I own an energy and water company. Some friends that I went to college with started, and have some patents around solar thermal pasteurization and some cool ways that we produce energy. So I go to Africa a lot. So for those that haven't been, I would highly recommend couple cities: Kigali, Rwanda, Nairobi, Kenya, but that's another story. So in terms of, how did I get into sales? I think it was inbred in me, and I, for a while didn't want to look at it, but once I looked at it, my life started to change.
Why didn't you want to look at it?
I think for
Tell
a
me
long,
more.
yeah, tell me more, TMM. I think for a long time, I looked at sales as kind of, I think a lot of people look at sales as, man, it's kind of slimy. Like, I don't want to go to a used car lot. Like, there's always a haggle. And if you look at like a history of sales, people are still kind of caught in that market sale. Like, I go to a market, I haggle, right? And let me try to get the best deal. And I think now more than ever, with social media, AI, just so many factors, I think we're in the age of transparency, right? So for me, I had to go through, hey, I just got to be transparent, Adam. And if he's a good fit, then I'll pitch him. If he's not, I won't. But I think for a while I was stuck in kind of the market side of sales of, I got to haggle, I got to do this. And, I studied entrepreneurship in college. I was like, I want to grow these big businesses. So I think I just, I looked away from it, and I looked at it I looked at it like a used car salesman,
Yeah. I love that, because I think, based on the coaching calls that I have, based on the people that want to join Secrets, when I have this conversation with them, you're not alone, right? And I've had to get over that kind of mindset as well. Because again, I remember my parents, my dad being a doctor, my mom being a lawyer. I remember when people would call the house at night, there was like this idea of like, this salespeople, right? Now their son sells real estate and sales. It's just, I love the act of sales, because for me, I have now transitioned to, I'm just a facilitator of desires. So what do you want? And can I help you? Can I be your service? Can I be your guide along your journey to help you get there faster, quicker, cheaper, easier, right? Whichever. And so my question to you is, what was the mindset switch for you? Like, what was that?
Yeah. So I think this was probably late 20s when I had my marketing agency. I ran our sales, and I realized that, like, I did my first time study from Alex Sharfin. I did my whole 15 minutes and I realized all I did was this. And we had a growing business. We had a 6-figure monthly business. And I was like, okay, I thought I was like doing everything. I was doing sales before I realized I was doing sales. If that makes sense. Right. So I think for me, it was really a tactical and strategic study and analysis of like, hey, man, you're already doing this, embrace it. And the second I did it, things became a lot easier in sales, going back to the theme of today. And I think it was more of an external thing for me. You know what I mean? Like I taught yoga young in life. So like I definitely had the, mindset side open to me, but it really was the external just analysis of like, well, look, if I embrace this, look what happens. And also genuinely giving a fuck. I don't know if I can swear on the podcast so you guys can bleep that out, but when you really do care, people can feel it and you can't fake that. Genuineness is an all-time premium. It's been an all-time premium for the last decade, I'd say. And, if you care, right, more than anyone else, that prospect, if they're a good fit, they're going to feel that. Right. They may not feel that today. They may not feel that tomorrow, but like they'll feel that. And it's the law of averages. So for me, it really was the external just analysis. So I also think to your point on the mindset side of things, you make a great point, like facilitating desires. Donald Miller's great book, Story Brand, if anyone hasn't read it, it's about marketing, but it does apply to sales too. Or just a platform for them to analyze what their next steps are. Maybe we're a good fit, maybe we're not. And that may come, that's through cohosting, that's through property management, that's through investing, that's through high ticket coaching sales, that's for any type of sale. That's through me trying to sell my wife and 2 kids on something of like, going to the 3 in Baltimore this weekend or something, right? But it's funny you say that because it's all just about desires. And everything in life, and me strongly correlate on this, and children as well, everything in life is love and fear. And you can have some success coming from fear. I think a lot of people have. But if you look at the people that are ultra successful, and not just from a, net worth, but quality of life, unequivocally, they come from love. Like if you look at the top 3 people that you would deem in your life as successful, very rarely are you thinking of like a Roadhouse bad guy, if anyone knows that reference from a 1980s badass movie, right? Like, no, they're actually the best people in the world. So love and fear and facilitate desires. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, for sure. So you've been around the STR world for a while, and I know you have had ideas and you're thinking, and you probably have done it by now, of also starting your own co-hosting company. And so we talked off air, and I know you kind of prepared 5 things that people should do, or like some things like the philosophy that Adam Stein would like to leave people with to help them grow their co-hosting business, or to help them grow in general with their sales skills. So let's walk through those, right? Like what would you say one thing is that, like, let's just go through the framework. Like what are those 5 things that people can do to become better at sales?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing I will correct you, E. I did manage properties. That's how I met Strober, because we had a virtual and I managed this portfolio. So I went through everything and I learned everything. And actually, I'm looking at buying a house in Hilton Head because I like to snowbird when I'm not in Africa. But no, that's how I got introduced to all these awesome people. But in terms of sales philosophies, great question. Then I think sales philosophies is the right way to look at it, because it is a philosophy. The pre-frame I'll give to this sales philosophy specifically to, what we're doing here with co-hosting, property managers, investing. Sales is sales. So whether you're selling someone on signing up with you to manage a property, whether you're selling on an investor and investing in a hotel, it's sales. So I think it applies to everything. I think sometimes if you're selling a, $2 thing versus a $2 million thing, sure, there's some differences, but all in all, most things are very, very similar. So the 5 philosophies I have, I think, number 1, unequivocally, world-class mindset, right? It doesn't matter how tactically good you are. You can be wrong so much on the call, like crazy wrong. But if your mindset's in the right frame, you'll be good. And I'll back this up with just simple best stats, right? If you look at a Hall of Fame baseball player, and I'm not a beach baseball fan, they're batting 300, meaning 3 out of 10 times they go to the plate, they hit the ball, right? In sales, if you bat 3 out of 10 times, you are crushing. Now, in coasting and stuff, we've gotten people to 8 or 9 out of 10, and he knows that. But holistically, you can basically scale any business at, 30, 40% closing. So you're going to have the majority of your calls, of your prospects, not close. And you got to accept that. And you got to say, hey, Hall of Fame baseball players struck out 7 times, or, hit a pop fly 7 out of 10 times. Okay. I think when you reframe your brain on that, you're not trying to win every one. You're just kind of enjoying the journey and living in the process, being relentless on the process, but being detached from the results. It's so big. And another reason I think mindset's so crucial is I like to think about something that I learned from a real estate guy that I know. He's actually a partner of mine in the energy company. He owns a lot of downtown St. Paul. And he said, always take the marathon mindset. And he meant that in business, but then more specifically sales. And, if I'm having a sales call with Ian, I'm trying to get him to, sign up for something or, let me manage his property. If I think I'm running 26 miles and he thinks he's running 1 or 2 miles, I'm just going to have the endurance to outlast this. And mile 1 or 2, you may think he's done. And this totally applies to negotiations. Oh my God, it's like really applicable. You are just better prepared to handle the long haul. Not a huge Jordan Belfort fan, but one of the things I love about the Wolf of Wall Street, the sales and starts with the objection. And ideally we want objectionless closes and like, oh my God, I love your coasting company E, go manage my stuff. This is awesome. But a lot of the times it's not the case and you need to navigate at the end of that. Right. So unequivocally, number one, and I know Ian Shogun will touch more on the subconscious, and there's much more deeper in this. I do believe in the Reiki 5 principles of, making sure you're solid on life so we could go another way, but specifically the sales, you just got to have a badass mindset. Simple as that. It's number one.
I love it. So pretty much what I heard you say there is that deny the evidence. Meaning, if you are working on creating this co-hosting business and you are coming off of a W-2 where maybe you're not realistically been in sales, right? Because not everybody comes from a sales background. Come in with a framework of understanding that every phone call that you do, what you're looking for is the silver lining, like the seed of future achievement that is in the no by nature. Meaning that like it doesn't matter that you're doing 10 calls and you got 3 no's, 4 no's, 5 no's, 6 no's, 7 no's, 8 no's, 9 no's, because eventually the 1 no will come. And so what you're telling us is that the world-class mindset is knowing that as long as you don't stop, as long as you keep going, that yes will come. And then over time you will get better. And then over time you will start signing up more clients, and you are great just because you tell yourself that you are great, and you're growing this great company because you're telling yourself you're growing this great company, regardless of the evidence of the fact that at the beginning, your batting averages may be even worse than the 3 average.
Yeah. I mean, still couldn't agree more, man. I mean, when if you're starting a coaching business today, all you got is your mindset, right? And you got to really future pace yourself of like, hey, whether it's my second call, my third call, my 30th call, I'm going to get this person. Sales is a service, and it's a disservice to not sell the people that you help. And sometimes no is a blessing in disguise, right? Chinese farmer, for those that know that reference. And sometimes you may say no to me and I may be like, oh man, I really thought I could help you. And 2 weeks from now, I'm extremely happy for whatever reason that didn't happen. Right. So unequivocally, I never want to like reinforce no. So I'm like, don't hit the no's, right? That's kind of like an old school sales thing. But conceptually, you're right. I think the way to look at it is really just, I'm looking for my people. I'm looking for my tribe. Who am I? If I'm a property manager, who am I good at managing? Right. And one of the analogies I love is like, if we're all in a dark tunnel, and especially if you're just starting out, it's really good to remember this. If we're all in a dark tunnel and you're a couple steps ahead of someone in front of you and you got a flashlight, that's really valuable. Right. Whereas someone who maybe has 100 properties they manage are way deeper down the tunnel, but they shine their flashlight, they're not going to see this brand new person. Right. So remember, you just need to be a couple steps ahead. And yeah, you got to be your own biggest fan. And I'll end with this. My 2 boys, I tell them this every night before I leave the room. I make them say this to me. They tell me you're a champion. And, you got to just reinforce that I can do this. I can do this. And if you're coming from being a CPA or a lawyer or a sales accountant at Google, Riley, right? It's really about believing and stepping in this new identity. The way that happens, perhaps physically, but then spiritually, emotionally. So yes, you're our biggest fan.
I love it. Number 2, what is the second philosophy of Mr. Adam Stein?
So this is probably the most valuable you could take away to coasting, real estate, but then anything. Doctor frame, it's the structure. And I'll kind of paint the picture. So doctor frame is really just taking a structured approach to a call, similar to how a doctor would. And when I say call, a sale, whatever that process is. And I'll paint the picture a little bit. So you go into a doctor's office. Well, first you check in. There's a nurse, an appointment setter, whatever, how you want to look at it. And you sit there and you wait. You read your little magazines or make your little crappy coffee. And, it's status alignment. Very quickly, you see, like, I have a buffer. I need to wait to talk to the special person. And then you go into the doctor's office. And what do they say? They say, hey, Guy, what's going on? That's all they say, typically. Hey, what's going on? And he tells him everything. His knee's hurt or whatever, right? And he tells him, well, I hurt my knee. This is what happened. And the doctor keeps asking questions until he gets a full 360 view of like what actually happened. How long has this happened? What have you tried? What hurts? This hurts. I'm going to test you. And what does he do? Gives you a diagnosis. He says, based on what I'm seeing out of you today, based on the x-ray, the MRI, whatever thing we needed to do, or me just, checking it, we need to cut your leg off, or we need to put you in physical therapy. We need to give you an ACL repair, whatever that is. And then he says, this is how it's going to work. Boom, 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 boom. You're going to start PT for a month, and then we're going to schedule surgery for a month from now. And then you'll check out and check with the nurse, and you'll schedule the next visit. And that's the sale. And you just signed up for getting a new knee or cutting your knee off or whatever. Like, I'm being silly in the example. That is ingrained and implemented into all of us. Whatever your views on are like modern medicine, you've all been to a doctor's office, and that is a proven way to go sell. If you apply that same methodology to sales, then you have a structured way that you go through it. So what do you do in sales? First, you ask questions. Then what do? You listen. You just listen. What's happening, right? And then the third is just, hey, how can I impact you? Like once I've actually asked and got a thorough understanding of what's happening with E, and I've truly listened to what he said, not just me checking a box. I'm like, all right, cool, he said this. Awesome. What's your paying? Okay, awesome. Then I hit him with a one-liner of like, hey, E, here's how we can help you. For example, E, you're a doctor. You like to travel in Italy, man. You got 4 houses. You don't want to manage them. You're trying to self-manage. Let me solve that for you today. Right, go enjoy Italy. Go take a swim. And that I to me is so important. I think people forget impact. Like how can you actually have impact, right? And that's the sale. Ask, listen, impact. Now, to me, there's a G and an N. G is just game plan. Hey, E, here's how we do it, which the doctor is like, here's how we set your surgery. And then N is now this is what needs to happen. That's when he says, hey, go to the front desk and schedule the next visit. We're just signing. Same thing. And that's an acronym, align. That's how I think about sales is you got to be aligned both on the double entendre of like, I got to be aligned with E, connection wise, but then also I need to have structure. And I think I've reviewed well over 10,000 sales calls and audited a lot of just businesses in general, everything from like power washing to energy consultants. Unequivocally, the quickest win is just structuring it better, right? At few, knows that very well, right? You ask questions, you zip it, and I'm terrible about this. I learned this because I was terrible at this. And then you say, here's how I can help. And until you understand and they feel like you heard how you can help, don't say anything. You're just shooting yourself in the foot, right? So again, doctor frame, you're going to the doctor's office. They're coming to Dr. Pani, Dr. Stein, whatever that is.
Yeah. So I love that. That was super powerful for me to learn, and it made my life better in general. And what's funny is that now at times in my own personal life, I suffer from the same thing that I used to suffer on sales calls, which is I talk too soon. And so my joke earlier, which was an inside joke between you and me, the TMM, which is tell me more. That is something that like I've now gotten used to saying, even when I'm having conversation with friends or with family, that I'm in a situation that I feel like I have the answer to the situation, or my brain is like, say this, we're going to get out of the situation. I have now trained myself to say, that's interesting. Tell me more. What do you mean by that? So after reviewing so many sales calls and so many things and being in the secret space and the STR space for so long, what do you think the biggest issue in executing on Dr. Frame is for the average person that is not coming from a sales background and is just enthusiastic, right? Because I think that is the other issue that sometimes people have in my mind is that you guys are so passionate about wanting to help people that you don't listen and you're trying to jump the gun. And then as Adam says is, would you want a doctor that was just excited? He was like, yeah, I got it. We're just going to cut your leg. It's like, wait, my knee is actually fine now. It's my foot that is hurting, but you don't know because you're talking so soon. Right. And so in your mind, in executing Dr. Frame, right? Somebody's listening to this is like, oh my God, yeah, this makes sense. What are some of the things that you're going to tell them? Hey, be careful, look out for this.
Yeah, great question, man. First and foremost, it's not about you. I think it's just kind of an ego death. And it's really good to remember that. And this is coming from a guy who like set sales records, like, it's all about me. Oh my God, Stein's amazing. It never was, right? It's not about you. And the less you make it about you, the easier it's going to be to get them to connect. I know he loves that, right? And it's okay to have pride and, be powerful in your craft as you should be. But if you genuinely come from a place of love and service and see if you can help someone, it shouldn't be about you, right? It should be about the product, service, whatever you're doing. And I think unequivocally, if like, what's the Band-Aid solution? It's that, right? Now, let me kind of flash reel and give some like sales technique stuff. POQ, power of quotes, right? So E says, I say, we all say words in a specific sequence, right? Let alone tone and cadence, just the actual words. There's the specific sequence is always different. So if I say, E, what's happening? Like, dude, well, what do you really want with this? And the way he answers that, I don't want to paraphrase that when I bring it back up, right? And I think when you listen for quotes, you inevitably slow your internal clock down because you're really trying to get this like juicy quote. So it's this cool thing where like, one, you have some like quote unquote ammo you can use later that he's giving you. He's really just giving you because you're asking great questions. But then two, it forces you to really listen, right? Because if you're really listening, you're not rushing to your next comment. And I think a lot of people, whether they're an introvert, an extrovert, they're kind of just thinking about a conversation like their next chess move instead of truly being present in that conversation. Yeah, that's what I love about you. I've never seen you not present in a conversation, right? The power of silence is another one. Silence is your friend. If I think of, and I've done some trainings on this, there's softwares that have this, but equivocally, like, you really don't want to talk that much on a sales call, as crazy as that sounds. Like, far, far minority, 20%. People are like, what? Like, no, it may not be that much. And also there's certain times, it's timing, right? There's certain times where if you review your own call, and that's the easiest way to do this, like a real quick homework, just go review one of your calls. Or, next time you have a call, if you don't review, just put a voice recorder on, whatever, like review it. And what you'll see is that you're just not letting them finish their thought. And it usually comes from a great place, E, to your point. It's come from this energetic, oh my God, E, you played football. I played football. Oh my God, let's like talk about this. Instead of just like, let E kind of get his thought out, right? So I think the power of silence, power of quotes, and it's not about you, are probably the three things in reverse order on that. Because again, if you just come from a place of service and love, you're going to get better at it. But again, just review a call. You're going to be shocked. You're going to be like, holy crap. Again, I was the worst culprit. I would be like talking and stomping over everything. Another thing I'll give is like, I always thought of it like sprinkles, right? So like, it's okay for me to connect with E and let him, and like, oh, this and that. I can get sprinkles, but I don't want to give him like a whole ice cream platter, because then he's going to get like a sweet tooth and he gets like tired and he doesn't want to listen to what I'm talking about. But I just get a little sprinkle. He's okay. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Amazing. The beauty with this stuff is that I know it, and yet I already have a full page of notes. So we got world-class mindset, Dr. Frame. What's number 3?
Connection above all else, right? Got to connect with people, man. Jordan Belfort talks about the 3 10s certainty. I need to connect with you. And I think all too often, I mean, let's look at this as the 3. So you can have a great mindset, you can have a great frame, but if you don't connect, doesn't matter. On the flip side, you can connect. I mean, you could get away with a bad mindset, kinda. If you connect good enough, you can totally get away with a bad frame, right? And connection is just why we do what we do here. I mean, if you look at the, tribe of STR secrets, think of the intro of this podcast, right? It's like STR Nation, doing things in an untraditional way. People don't want to talk about this, but like, you study humans who all want to be associated with something. That's also why there's like a lot of wars. People like having differences, right? When you can connect with someone, it just makes the conversation, one, more fun, which I don't know about you, I like to have fun. So like, if I'm going to go allocate time to this human being, let's go have fun. And then 2, and like genuinely having fun, not like a fake fun, like, oh yeah, hi. And we all have like our sales voice. No, dude, your soul, your shoppers, right? Let it out. But then 2, when and if it gets to a, the whole point in the call, or he's debating or whatever, you connected. Now I can really connect with you on a personal level, because we did connect prior to money coming in or deals or numbers or whatever. Right. And I think when you combine these first 3, I have a great mindset, I have a great structure, and now I can connect on top of that, you're really unstoppable. Right. So I think connection above all else, it's kind of the trump card, no pun intended. Right. But like, it's this thing that if you really connect with people, you can kind of get away with a lot more,
How do you connect with people? How does that like, right? If somebody's listening to this and it's like, dude, I'm a CPA and I'm doing this and I love the system side of this business, but I was following you, right? I was taking notes, world-class mindset. Okay, I can work on that. Dr. Frame, yeah, I love it. Connect above all else. And I'm a CPA. I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn off this podcast because I am not like, I'm an introvert and like, I don't like connecting with people. And like, I'd rather work with my computer or talk to my dog than talk to a random person. So like, how does one connect? How does one learn to connect?
Well, first off, I agree with them. I'd much rather talk to my dog than a normal
I'm
person.
the same. I don't even have a dog. I just talk to random. I'm the person that walks up to somebody. I'm like, so can I talk to the dog? And I turn around. I'm like, oh my God, buddy, you're so lovely. And then I'm like, okay, goodbye. And I just leave. And I give like the person like 5% of my energy and attention, and like 97 to the dog.
Dogs for life. Dogs for life. If we had 100 people and 100 dogs and I had to kill one of them, you don't want to know the answer is what I would say. So I totally get it. No, so I agree with them on that front. But no, getting back to, your question of, and maybe don't feel that, how do I truly connect? A couple of things I'd really challenge them on. Number 1, just give a F, right? Again, I don't swear, but like, if you really care, I think it makes it a lot easier to connect. If you're connecting to get their credit card, or you're connecting to get the deal, not going to work. You can't fake that. Right? You may get away with a couple, but you're not going to like fake that in any sustainable fashion. Right? So you really got to genuinely care. Number 2, and it's easy to say, hard to do, put yourself in their shoes. If I'm selling E and E sitting in Italy, and E has a property in Georgia and, the Rockies, and I'm trying to take it over and like test one to take it over or whatever the case may be. Really think about what's going on with E. It's not about you. It's not, I mean, like, if my kid's sick, it's not about me. Again, it's not about me. It's about E. So I really need to put myself in his shoes and understand what's happening. And again, it's easy to say, it's hard to do. I think a great exercise for that is like after you have an avatar, whether you close them or not, or prospect, you then really think through and like replay, okay, what could I have done? Again, whether you closed or not, that would have convinced E or put him in a better situation to make a decision. And then lastly, like just get out of your own way. I challenge the notion that you can't connect. I think everyone can connect with everyone in some fashion, Now more than ever, maybe, we're not more than ever, but the USA is maybe a little divided right now. And I travel abroad and I get treated differently when I'm American. I'm not a cool Italian like E where they're like, yeah, right. But in certain areas, my brother flew F-18. Like, there's two sides to the coin here. And I guess what I'm getting at is even the people that have the biggest differences in the world, I have no doubt connect on something. And we're all humans. We're all just, quote unquote, as my wife says, trying our best, right? And, I don't love the try part, but I do love the concept. And yeah, man, I think you really need to get out of your own way and challenge yourself to find a way to connect. And especially, I tell this to a lot of reps that I've trained. The person that you really connect with is easy, right? I play college football. If I made a college football player that now loves golf, I'm like, oh my God, let's look geek out, right? But the person that's maybe someone that's not analogous to you, completely opposite, I think that's actually where you have the biggest growth in that relationship when you connect because the delta's bigger. But then also, if you look at it, there's just inherently more people that aren't like you than are like you in this world. Again, force yourself to connect. And if you can't, give me a call because I will change your brain quick. I mean, you gotta connect, right? This is cool. Or just listen to E for 10 seconds and you'll probably get the skills.
100%. Okay. What's number 4?
Number 4, sticking along my sports analogies, sales is golf. It's really easy concept, really good to remember. You see that master back there. I'm a big golf guy. Sales is golf in a couple ways. Number one, every course is different. Every call is different. And so although you want the same structure, you want to connect, run this great mindset, you got to be ready for a trap in a different area. You got to be ready for the wind blowing because every course isn't the same, even on different condition days. And fresh off the open, right? We're recording this after the champion golfer of the year, Scotty Scheffler, right? I think the like Scottish type of golf is actually the most analogous to sales because it can be anything. It's on a coast, it's beautiful, it's sunny, or it's windy and it's crappy really quick in the same round. And that can happen in a sales process. I also love it because if you think of when you grip a golf club, so again, I was originally a football player when I gripped harder, I worked harder if I wanted to like get something in life. It doesn't really work in life, right? That's just worked in football. In golf, I can't grip the club any harder. Right? Like if I grip it too hard, it's just going to really mess things up. And I like to say, don't white knuckle it. Right? Like I don't know if you guys can see my knuckles, but like if you really squeeze it hard, it's not what you want to be doing. And that's the same thing in sales. Another thing that I think would help people that are trying to really implement the Dr. Frame and connect is you can't white knuckle those things. I can't connect. Right? Like we're going to connect today, no matter what, right? I can't take my kids on a trip and be like, we're going to have fun, damn it. But I can let it come to me and I can let it flow through me. And another reason I think sales is golf is ultimately, it's just this beautiful, wonderful journey. And like, I'm going to get a little meta here, but like when you start 18, any golfer can relate to this. You like walk to the first tee box. You're like, oh my God, anything's possible. Like course record's possible. I don't know. Maybe I do crazy today. And then you compare that to when you're leaving and you look at hole 1 and you inevitably have like totally different feelings because you had this journey. Maybe you started with a birdie, maybe you started with a triple, whatever that is, right? You go through this awesome journey. That is sales. And if you look at really good golf, and Sky Scheffler's a good example of this, it's kind of boring. He hits the fairway, he hits the green, he putts it. He hits the fairway, he 2 putts, maybe birdies, maybe doesn't. But it's pretty simple. That's what sales is, everyone. We just make it hard because there's wind. We're like, oh my God, I can't hit the wind. Or like, oh my God, I need to go up my right shoulder. No, you don't. Go keep it simple, right? So I love golf as sales. My struggles in golf really helped me. Like as I got better in golf, I got better at sales. So it was pretty funny. And to your point earlier, it implements and integrates into everything in your life, right? Your conversations with your loved ones, your conversations with your neighbors, whatever that may be. So sales is golf. Go play golf. Go get better at sales.
Yeah, 100%. And I know both Riley and Shogun are going to love that reference. I brought my golf stuff here to Sardinia because I was like, I'm going to learn how to play golf. And I found a golf instructor and I can't get my ass off of the beach. And so everything is still in my suitcase. But eventually I will learn golf. Okay, so we're at number 5. So what is the last self philosophy?
Well, before I last self philosophy, go practice your bunker shots. You got sand right there. So you can actually.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Start last from before this thing,
Dude, I mean, you're on the beach. Don't be hard on yourself. Just hit some golf balls. But no, last sales philosophy is simple. Deals happen at diagnosis. Right. So now we know the doctor frame, you know how this works. I think there's this weird notion that deals happen after, you like fight on objections. And like inevitably there's going to be some calls like that. But if I look at the history of the deals I've closed, and I've been blessed to close over 9 figures in deals, like, both in the high ticket coaching space, the real estate space, but then also some other weird stuff like energy. It happens when you properly diagnose someone's problem. You can win a deal right there. Now they're not going to be like, here, sign the contract. But that's, if you rewind it, that's when the deal was won. And also, if you don't win that moment right there at diagnosis, like, hey, you want my feedback? Okay, cool, here we go. If I don't win either, it's just an uphill battle forever. It doesn't mean I can't win him, but it's like Pareto's law. Like, I think that ends up being 20% of your deals. We're like, oh, I got to fight. I got to do whatever. Whereas if you hit it right out the gate, that's where the majority of your deals are going to come from. And whether he closes on that call or not, like if you're wine, that's when that happened. And I think Dr. Frame's great and everything's great, but like if you just murder diagnosis, like you're really good at being concise, being certain, having strong tone, having a good cadence, having a good presence, right? All these things, you can cover up a lot of the other stuff we talked about today. Right. Because that's when the deal really happens. And I think real estate's the most applicable to this, because if I'm really analyzing what's going on with E, both on his portfolio, but then also on his personal side of things and how I can help with that potentially as a co-host, or, as I'm launching this hotel and he's an investor, whatever that may be, I think the more you can really hit that on the nose. And Chris Voss said this, and I love this concept. The two words you want to hear someone is that's right. As in like, Adam understands me, or he understands me. Right. And a little secret, like pro tip, when you give your impact statement, if they talk a bunch after, it's typically not a great impact statement, right? Like you want them to take a step back, like, because they don't need to say anything, right? Now, some people just talk, so like there's always exceptions to the rule. But yeah, I think if you master diagnosis, it's kind of like this shortcut to success here.
Yeah, I love that. One of the biggest things you taught me when it comes to diagnosis is that it has to be a newspaper headline. And the other concept was a grunt test. And so it's funny to say, right? But like, can you guys, when you talk to your prospect, when you talk to your owners, can you tell them what they need by grunting it? Yeah. You need more time. You need more bookings. I give you time. I give you bookings, right? Like something like that, right? And so understanding like how you can do that. And my truth about diagnosis is that is a product of your listening, and your listening is also a product of your questions. So as you learn, again, really fall in love with service, and really fall in love with the art of asking questions. Because people, like Adam says, right, the power of quotes. But in the power of quotes are also all of the things that you need to properly diagnose somebody. And so if you have an owner that's been self-managing a property and is not able to spend time with your family, you're like, look, man, I know that you don't want to ever lose family time ever again. And that's what we're going to help you with. Does that sound fair? Sure. That's what they want. And they can be like, yes, that's right. Right. Like yes, you heard me. Right. And that's the main thing that people want, is to just feel heard. And especially in this world of big box property management companies, I do truly believe that that is your opportunity as a boutique host and operator. Spend time really caring, because a Vacasa or a Valve rep, it's not going to, well, maybe they listen to the show. I hope they do, but it's not going to have the time to care this much, because they're going to have so many more calls kind of booked. Right.
I love that you said that. Let me go to space for a second. So both through my own property management, but then also helping both the team of STR secrets, but then also like actual clients that sign up for the mastermind. There is not an industry I can think of where a ma and pa approach is a better selling point than a big box. Everything now is getting commoditized. It's like, hey, cheaper, faster. Right. Unequivocally, you sell care in this space, right? I sold care when I managed properties. That's what I sold. I sold care, because whether, even if you scale the Petsy size, you're doing 100 plus properties or whatever, you're still not at 1,000, you're not at 500. And it's really this care aspect. And especially if you're all at under 50, oh my gosh, right? That market will resonate with that message so much. So yeah, couldn't agree more. I think we've seen that time and time again on the back end, that when you really play that card, like, hey, you're going to get me. You're not going to get 10 layers underneath me. You're not going to get this revenue manager. And like, let me give a little history on this. I hired Vacasa. So there's a nice, very beautiful property I managed in Scottsdale, Arizona. We hired Vacasa, and I kind of audited them. And, they had their percentage, and they had the revenue manager percentage, and they always little and there was just some dude playing with price labs. It wasn't anything. And as you learn it, you're like, okay, what's going on here? So I think if you're not selling on care, you're really missing the macro, what you're selling on. I mean, I'm sure there are, but you are selling being a mom and pa against Walmart. What's more compelling than that in today's day and age? You know what I mean? Like if I own a property, I would much rather have a mom and pa that really cares than me in the 1,000th or the 2,000th or the 500th, property in their portfolio. Right. And not throwing stones of Casa other than the one that just did, but like ultimately that's what you're selling. And that's how I think you've had to, people in this nation have had success with this. Another thing I want to touch on real quick is the grunt test. Oh my God. I wish I invented it. I didn't. It's that by Donna Miller's story brand. And it's, we so care. Right. And really like say it silly like that. And if you can't say that to someone, like the catch-all is just we so care to anyone in the coaching space. Like there's your quick win. But more importantly, to E's point, if I listen properly because I'm asking the right questions and then I use my power quotes, I can really hit the nail on the head. And that's where that diagnosis is one, where it's like, you need more time. We give you time. Right. Like very simple. And I think you got to say a silly voice. Otherwise, like the sales gods don't let it happen. No. But it also forces you to like really think in that way. And we all talk too much. You probably can tell on this podcast. I'm not short of words, but I think the more powerful and the timeliness of your words is more important than anything. Quick stat. People don't know this, but this is true. There's like Harvard studies on this. 90% of communication is nonverbal, right? So like, just think about that, especially we're sitting on a Zoom call and he's in a whole other country. All right. So all we have is our words and our sounds and our, whatever, but it's still nonverbal. So I can't stress enough how much to sell care and do that through the grunt framework can really get just quick ones here. So I love that you brought this up.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So I want to be respectful of your time. As I imagine, this is one of I think this is one of the podcasts that I enjoyed the most for a couple of reasons, right? I love and appreciate who you are as a person. I am forever grateful for you for the things that you taught me, our friendship. And I also do know that this show has a huge potential to really make a difference. Because again, learning how to properly sell yourself, it is the greatest thing that you can do for yourself. And so for nothing else, I would love to challenge you. And this was a challenge that one of my mentors gave me, Dave Conway. Dedicate the next 3 years of your life to mastering the art of sales. Because regardless that STRs is what you're going to do for the rest of your life or not, this is that fruit tree that is going to feed you for the rest of your life. Because Adam, myself, if I decide this STRs is not what I want to do anymore, this bag of tricks that I have with me and the understanding of this game and the psychology of sale and the psychology of people will serve me for the rest of my life, right? So Adam, for people that want to learn more or connect with you or just kind of pick your brain, where can people reach out to you?
Yeah. So I got to touch quickly on E. I mean, you're talking to a guy that sales retired. My wife got me a beautiful house, bunch of land. And this is a guy that looked away from sales for a while. So I couldn't stress E's words more heavily. Sales can change your life if you let it in a lot of ways. But yeah, actually, E, in terms of getting to reach me, you can reach me at the.salesscientist on IG. And I actually put together a little cheat sheet for everyone on this call because I've seen a lot in the STR space and I want to share the wealth. So I'm going to give you 3 quick ways that you can boost sales immediately, right? So anyone that messages me on IG, I'll send over a fun little cheat sheet for you. I'd be shocked that doesn't increase sales 10% for you, if not more. But again, this is tried and true, both what I've done personally and then also what I've done with the STR Secrets community. But yeah, it's the.salesscientist on Instagram.
Amazing. And then Adam, I'm going to tweak the last question for you a little bit, but what is your number one secret to sales in STRs?
Number one secret to sales and STRs. If you're the solution, it's a disservice not to sell them. I think whether it's your first property, your 10th or your 20th, if you really can manage their property, and this is probably more so to like the newbies, right? Like brand new, if you know you can structure it for them and crush it, right? Sell them. Otherwise, it's literally a disservice not to them, right?
Yeah, I love it. Lead from service. Don't be afraid. Remain world class and just go out and crush it.
Everything is love and fear, man. It's just how you want to look at it. You can come from fear, you can come from love. It's your call. It's always your choice.
Well, guys, I really, really enjoyed myself. I hope you guys did as well. Myself and Riley will be back for you guys next week with a little recap on STR Welcome, which unfortunately I missed for the first time. And I am also sorry, not sorry, because I'm loving my life here. And so I look forward to seeing you guys all next week. And ciao for now.
Thanks for having me.